Worst show I ever had, without a shadow of a doubt, was the show. I hate to say it just in case anyone I know is ever listening, but it's in Charleston, South Carolina. I was about to do a really big show in my hometown, and I hadn't been on stage in a while. Spending any amount of time off stage, it just creates all the more anxiety about the next time that you have to go on stage. So that's why they say, try to be consistent with stage time. I remember that's something that you would always tell me to do. And so at this particular point, it had been a month, I think, since I'd been on stage, and I had a really big show coming up. And so I was kind of nervous with my big show being the show that I got back on stage with. And so someone had said they had a show in Charleston that I could come and I could do some time there. And so it'd be this little theater, and I was like, that sounds great, perfect. And then the day of, I got a message, and the guy was like, heads up, apparently the theater was rented out today for the FSU, some football game in the South, which is, if you're in the South, that's a big deal.
Right.
Football is a big deal. And so they said, couldn't actually use the theater for the show. It had been blocked out. So the show's going to be at the barbecue pit next door. And just the word barbecue pit, I was like, oh God. On top of that, we got to the barbecue pit and they said, well, it's not as big of a turnout as it usually is, probably because of the football game, but we'll still have a good crowd. Oh, and the game's on now, but we're going to turn off the game right before the show starts.
It's the worst thing to do.
It's the worst thing to do to a comedian when people were at the barbecue pit to watch the football game, not to come to comedy night. And then you're going to turn off the football game, the thing that they came there to watch. That's the first way to start off your night, with a boo. Like, it's not good. And so sure enough, they turned off the TV and some people left. The host got on stage and he said he was going to do a certain amount, and I don't think he did as much time as he said he was going to do because he just struggled. And he's a funny guy. I've seen him before. But he didn't get a single laugh. And then he goes, well, who's ready for me to bring some real comedians up here? And one person went. I got one pathetic little clap, and then I was the next one to go. I was like, oh my God, I can't. And sure enough, I mean, it was like pulling teeth. Oh, and towards the end, I like to include a little bit of depth in my comedy, and I did. I wondered how much I should include because I was at the barbecue pit, and I was like, I don't know how much people want to hear my depth. But I did say a little bit,
right.
Like I have this joke about dating a guy. And right before I get to the funny part, I say something about the importance of knowing your worth. And so I said, I used to make really poor choices, especially about men. This like drunk guy in the back just goes, yo! And I was like, yeah, choices like that guy. Like...